want Philly, Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's easy to sum it up. We're talking about practice.
Because it's about as casual as it gets.
What's the problem now?
That's a clown question, bro.
I think we ought to send a beating at least.
World champions!
Start playing with some jam in here. Let's go.
Philadelphia, looking as only you can look. Woo!
Here we go, here we go.
And good morning. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Our Eagles will be kicking off in less than 7.5 hours. So to kill some time, we here at Old City Sports decided to do a roundtable. So I have Frankie Mattis. I think that's how you say your name.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
From Let's Be Frank. Who talks all things Philadelphia sports. He loves Joel Embiid.
My man.
Yeah. We also have Mike Roscoe from 2nd and 15 from Old City, who also talks Eagles. I think he's having some technical difficulties getting his picture working, but he'll be on. We're also going to be having Petty Murphy from the Petty Murphy Project, who is a Kansas City Chiefs fan, who came up with a prediction the other night on our show, which I thought was absolutely ludicrous. He had the Chiefs winning 38-35 on the number one defense in the NFL. So,
ambitious.
Yeah. And, myself, Chris from the Philly podcast. Obviously, Eric isn't here. He's unavailable. So, good morning, gentlemen. Right now, Mike Roscoe is the invisible man. Hopefully, we can hear him.
Well, good morning, Chris. How are you?
I just got yelled at by my wife because a commercial or Fox had asked a trivia question of, who Andy Reid's got 302 wins, 100 some losses, and 1 tie. Mm-hmm. And, I was like, oh, it was Cincinnati in 2008. She's like, I can't get you forget to pay the bills. You don't know our kids' names, but you can tell me something that happened 16 years ago.
Chris, you and I are on the same page, my guy. The amount of Eagle stats I throw out there in front of my girlfriend, and she's like, "You don't know what we're doing next Friday night, but you know this." So I've been there, and I would have known that answer too.
Yeah. It was also the game where McNabb's like, "Oh, I didn't know you could tie."
Yeah. God.
Yeah. Well, what an error.
Yeah.
So, Mike, are you there? Are you still working on technical difficulties? We're going to say he's working on technical difficulties. So it's fine. He can work on that. So we'll chatter and we'll wait for Petty. But, it's Super Bowl Sunday. What are your thoughts? I mean, and obviously I assume you're confident. I am. You go on Twitter and God forbid you have confidence in your team winning.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs fans attacking you like, oh yeah, we're just gonna sit down, lie down, and just get blown out of the water.
Yeah, just let Patrick Mahomes win his 3rd Super Bowl. No, that's not happening. I feel good. Like I was kind of worried about this morning, kind of being nervous, but I'm really not. Like I really think that the Eagles have a blueprint to win this game. I think with Barkley, with long methodical drives, Jalen Hurts extending drives on 3rd and 4th down. Great defense. It's a different defense than Patrick Mahomes faced in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That was a defense that was predicated off the pass rush. Obviously, they set the record. For this defense, the bulk of or the meat and potatoes of our defense really is our linebackers and our secondary, keeping everything in front of them. Obviously, getting Brandon Graham back is huge, and our pass rush is fine as a whole. But it's a different type of defense, but a defense that's really hard to throw against. And I feel good. I don't think they have to change a whole lot. They don't have to completely alter their game plan because, oh my God, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. It's just, they kind of just do what they do, sprinkle in some new plays here and there. But I think I feel good about this one. I really do.
No, and I'm with you. I saw a tweet about the other day about how this team is different from 2022 and 2024, and I was like, how is it really different? Well, they're a lot younger. They were Jalen Hurts is now he's 2 years older. He's been through the downs of losing. Like he's now dealt with the Super Bowl loss of 2022. He dealt with the collapse of 2023, and I just think he's been holding on to this grudge since he stepped on Kelsey's foot on that Hail Mary. But yeah, no, you're right. The defense it's 100 times better. They don't rely on the pass rush. They have areas. They have that great secondary. So like Howie once again put together a great team, and I'm tired of.
Sorry, I was just trying to get you going here in the middle. I'm not 100% sure what it is.
All right, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired of the Jalen Hurts slander where he's got a super team. He's got a super team because Howie drafted good. He's got a super team because the Giants didn't re-sign Saquon Barkley. He traded a first-round pick for A.J. Brown. It's not like he just went and got these guys and it was like, oh, hey, he made the right takes. They drafted Devontae Smith. They drafted Dallas Goedert. They drafted Grant Alcantara. Their whole offensive line was drafted with the exception of Mekhi Becton. And, obviously the story of the defense is Zach Bond, who finished in 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting, which is I'll give you your opinion on that because I don't even want to talk about it. I get so angry about it.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely could have. You could have definitely given it to him. I think Vic Fangio, given what he did give, because with assistant coach of the year, Ben Johnson pretty much picked up where he left off last year. So they didn't really have a lot of turnover. This Eagles defense is like night and day, different philosophies. It's a night and day defense from 31st worst defense from passing perspective to they're first in passing. It's the night and day. I thought that was more of a travesty. The defense was a lot more up in the air. I'm not as devastated, but you could have given it to Zach Bond. Like, I mean, you could have made an argument for either one. It's easy just to give it to a pass rusher. There really wasn't like a definitive guy. I mean, more so than anything, I think it's very obvious that Josh Allen got the MVP because they didn't want to give it to Lamar for a third time. Oh, you didn't win an MVP. Here's your MVP. Now, granted, you could argue he didn't have the talent around him like Lamar did, but I think, what Barkley did this year, transforming this team, he just watched the tape. It's just incredible. But yeah, you could have given it to Bond. I'm not as devastated as other people. Obviously, I would love for him to win. I just hope that at the end of the day he gets paid and he's back here next year because I don't want to go back to the Zach Cunningham days. But, I could definitely see him getting it, though.
I don't know. Please don't. Zach Cunningham. Jesus Christ. You're hurting my feelings with that. You know what? You know what? You're 100% right with the Zach Bond not getting the votes, which is fine. It is what it is. But I'm with you. The fact that Vic Fangio didn't get anything for assistant coach of the year, and the fact that I know people don't like him, but the fact that Sirianni still doesn't get voted these coaches of the year is like, why is Dan Campbell getting? He's right where he was last year.
Yeah,
this year. You don't want to give it to him in 2023 because of the collapse. That's fine, but 2022 and 2024, I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Sirianni, obviously, I had my issues with him and some of the antics and stuff, but it's like, I don't know if you watch UFC at all, but there's this guy who fought last night. He has like a really awkward style, and in theory, it just doesn't work, but it does work. And it's kind of like Nick Sirianni. Like, you would think a guy that's always trying to play to the fans and stuff like that, it wouldn't work, but the guys resonate with him. Clearly something happened after the bye and in particular the Browns game, and the guys resonate around him. I think I think this is a team that has a lot of the 2017 qualities, and that, oh, you're saying this about our team, because you obviously remember the Jason Kelsey rant after the Super Bowl at the Art Museum when they won. I think this is an organization that because it's so hard to not hear the chatter of Philadelphia. It's the loudest city in all of sports in a lot of ways. So it's hard not to hear it, and they use that as bullet board material, and they rally around the guy, and it works.
Yeah, I mean, me and my co-host Eric, we had a huge blow up live on during one of our podcasts. I think it was either it was after the Cleveland game, and he was like, "Oh, I'm tired of the antics. You know, at the end of the season, I want him fired. In a couple weeks, we may want him fired." And I was like, "Well, that's all good and plenty. Someone's going to sign him.
Yeah.
The news came out today that Kellen Moore is most likely going to be hired by New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. The worst kept secret in all football, let's be honest. We all knew that was coming.
Right. And he is going to have a third coach who is going to be hired. Like, obviously it didn't work last year when you had Brian Johnson, you had Matt Patricia. I forget who the other defensive player coordinator was. That's
Sean Desai.
Sean Desai. And, it tells you how much he made an impact. And, it's crazy because he still gets zero respect in the league. And I get it. It's Philadelphia. Like, listen, the cool thing to do is to hate Philadelphia. Like, it really is. It's like, I always sit there and say when they bring up snowballs at Santa and all this out, I'm like, you know what? Snowballs at Santa happened even before the moon landing. That's how long ago it was.
It's the low hanging fruit. It's just
like you got to come up with something better. Like,
yeah.
And listen, I'm the first, and Eric will be the first one to tell you, I'm the first to always kill our fans when they deserve it. Like, like that guy at the Green Bay game who filmed his wife getting absolutely manhandled. And you go to turn out, listen, the Eagles fan wasn't in the right. The guy was 100% a jerk. Like, he was a moron. He was this, he was that. But the Packers fan wasn't no saint either. He was egging that guy on.
Yeah, and then the start of GoFundMe, it was sus city. Like, it just, the whole thing. Like, and he made it about him. Like, the girl was obviously the victim, getting called a bunch of misogynistic things, and then the guy's like, hey, I'm gonna start a GoFundMe for what reason? It was just, the whole thing was a mess. But yeah, I mean, there are some Eagles fans that get a little rowdy, but for like us, we're passionate, but we're nuanced. We understand the nuances of the game, and call balls and strikes.
Right. And then Matthew Stafford's wife came out last week or 2 weeks ago and said the Eagles fans were awesome to her. They were awesome. And it's like Jared Verse acknowledged how great the fans were, who had a great game against us. He talked his ish and he backed it up.
He did.
And then he literally, he made all Eagles fans a Jared Verse fans because of how he handled it and how he did everything else. And here we got Michael Roscoe from 2nd and 15.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, guys.
No, that's fine.
It's all good.
So we were waiting for you, but we were just talking about the level of confidence you have in today's game, which is going to start in a little under 7.5 hours. We were talking about the defense, so let's get your thoughts.
So I think honestly, this defense is better than what we were seeing in 2022. Primarily for a few reasons. One, coordinator change. And I know there's the saying, oh, Patrick Mahomes is 8-0 versus Vic Fangio. He's never faced Vic Fangio with the players that we have right now. If you look at the defenses, it's almost completely different besides, 3 players? Slay, Graham, and I think somebody else. But this defense is a shutdown defense in both the run and the pass game. And I don't know. There's people love to glaze Patrick Mahomes and this offense. If you look at this offense, their passing game is strong as shit. Their run game is not. But what's great about our defense is our run defense is one of the most unstoppable run defenses in this league. They're going to force Patrick Mahomes to scramble, and that's what he does. He's not the dual threat quarterback that Jalen Hurts is. If you look at all of Patrick Mahomes' rushing yards in Super Bowls, 91% of them are off scrambles, are off these make it happen kind of shit, which Patrick Mahomes is good at. But with the way our defense plays up, if Vic Fangio does what he's been doing, there's not going to be a make it available kind of thing. You're going to have all these,
100%.
Zach Bond against Travis Kelce, or even if it's Cooper DeJean against Zach Kelce. There's some saying, if you want speed, stick the nickel corner on Travis Kelce. They're going to throw an inside route to Travis Kelce every single time. You just have to shut down Travis Kelce. That eliminates 80% of your options. And I think our defense is capable of doing that. Yeah, we did something different this time. We valued the linebacker position. I know we don't have Nakobe Dean in there because of the injury, but we have Zach fucking Bond, who was snubbed of, first of all, 5th in voting. That's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
That is exactly what I said.
Absolutely ridiculous. I think he was, Jared Verse. I think yes, he deserves it. I think I think Jared Verse was better defensively. I think that's rookie. Let me backtrack. I think Zach Bond's stats and his playability was much better than that of Pat Surtain. Like, no one's talking about everyone. If you look at all these analysts talking about, they're talking more about Zach Bond and what he did versus Pat Surtain. I almost forgot Pat Surtain was even a player for a hot second. Like, everyone's talking about Zach Bond. Barely anyone's talking about Pat Surtain. Yet he gets the Defensive Player of the Year? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, the voting of that was a little ridiculous. Patrick Surtain is a great corner, though. I will say that. I mean, they did kind of, you could argue there with Denver, like their defense last year was like absolutely atrocious. They gave up 70 points to Miami, and then this year it's like night and day. I mean, it really could have given it to anybody. I mean, it wasn't like a clear-cut guy. But yeah, 5th in voting is a little ridiculous.
That's
like he should have been at the very least like 3rd, maybe.
If you're gonna glaze him up that much in your talk, then you better back it up with your voting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've said all these. I've said it for the MLB, and I'll say it for football. They can't get it right, and like Frankie had mentioned earlier, how they didn't want to give the MVP to Lamar Jackson because it would have been a 3rd one. They wanted to give it to Josh Allen because
it's a fucking popularity contest nowadays. It don't even mean anything anymore.
They need to create a quarterback award and the MVP. That's all. That's all they.
Absolutely.
Because and then like I'm kind of in agreement with Frankie. Like it is what it is with the Zach Bond Award winning what he did, but the fact that Vic Fangio was an assistant coach of the year, that's really where the robbery is. That's in my opinion. For let's just go back to the offseason real quick, and we'll get back on that. We had Giants fans and Cowboys fans try to convince us that Saquon Barkley was washed up and was a busted number 2 pick. Kellen Moore wasn't a good coordinator. And then we had other fans, specifically Dolphins fans, telling us that he couldn't coach in Miami, that it wasn't the great, it was all Fangio's fault. And I just, like, those 3 storylines in the offseason of 2024 is insane. Like, we legitimately had different fan bases telling us Saquon's washed up, Kellen isn't a good coordinator, and neither is Vic Fangio. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they were all fucking wrong.
Well, I mean, obviously that.
Like, clear as crystal day. I mean, it's classic. It's classic trash talk. It's, you don't want to admit that that the player or the person didn't work out for you, so you think it's not going to work out in another environment. We've seen this with 3 running backs already, with Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Derrick Henry. They weren't working out in their old environment. They go to a new environment, and they absolutely blow up. We saw it with Jerome Bettis back in the day. He wasn't doing diddly squat with the Rams, and then he goes on the Steelers and becomes one of the best running backs of that era. So change of an environment is a real thing. 100%. It could be a great thing, it could be a bad thing, but most of the time it's a fantastic thing because you're behind an organization that sees your value for what it is from your previous one that obviously didn't, and then now you're exploding. We're seeing it with Saquon Barkley night and day. You know, he was a great player on the Giants. He would have been great on any team, but you put him in Philadelphia, a team, an organization that actually believed in him, paid him for what they saw his value as, despite the injury history. And look, now he's absolutely exploded for this Eagles offense.
I forgot Jerome Bettis was on the Rams. Wow, you really pulled that one out. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, you know, and you're 100% right. Like a different organization, and you know, I just again, I always reiterate, and I go back to, you know, I know the Giants couldn't quote unquote re-sign Saquon Barkley. I just don't know if I would have went on national TV and said it out loud for you to become the laughing stock of the NFL. And nobody's signing up for Hard Knocks anymore right now. Off season.
No, and I can't believe Joe Shane's coming back. That's crazy. But hey, man, I'll take that. Just like I'll take Brian Schottenheimer being hired. And to kind of go off of that, the criticisms, like the Barkley thing, you know, with a great offensive line, if he can stay healthy. Now, I didn't expect this, like 2,000 yards. You know, I was thinking maybe like 1,500, 1,600, something like that. More of a factor in the passing game, actually. But, yeah, I mean, it's a great marriage to have that O-line with him. And then Kellen Moore, I mean, the guy gets fired from Dallas after Dallas goes to the second round, and he's immediately hired the next day by the Chargers. I've never seen a guy get hired that quickly, and you can't really indict him for what happened with the Chargers under Brandon Staley. I mean, Brandon Staley turned out to be an absolute fool, and obviously Kellen Moore is highly respected. And then the whole Vic Fangio thing, it's like, you know, Vic Fangio is a Northeastern guy. Miami's not really his vibe, and guys like, you know, Jalen Ramsey didn't really love the old school mentality, but in Philadelphia it works out perfectly. So, I definitely could definitely use a guy like him now still. But yeah, that's their loss.
Well, there's like a level of respect that I think a lot of these Eagles players have for their coaches that these other coordinators, coaches, players were not getting in those previous organizations. If I'm a coach and I'm surrounded by a bunch of players who are saying this on national TV that, oh, this wasn't working, not having the balls to essentially at least try to defend me, if it's not something scandalous or whatever, then yeah, I'm not going to be the best type of coach because I don't feel like I'm surrounded by those who can help me become the best type of coach. He goes to Philly, where he already had history. He was the assistant, he was an assistant in the year that we went to the Super Bowl for, like, you know, he was a consultant at least, something for like for 2 weeks or something like that. He was respected there, and he's respected now. And look at where he's gotten this team. When a team, it's not just the coach, it's also the players. You have to have a certain level of respect. Yes, you could be the most physically gifted athlete, but if you're not believed in or you're not believing in a coach, then that changes your whole mindset, and then that changes how you play the game as a whole. So when you have all these Dolphins players being like, oh, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, they're not going to play like they believe in it. And they're going to not succeed because Vic Fangio has a great philosophy. Even if it's a little old school, it obviously works because our Philly guys are believing in it, and it's working out for them tremendously.
And it just goes to show, yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
I was just going to say, like, it just goes to show you how good our organization is. I mean, you look at a guy like Mekhi Becton, who a lot of people looked at as a bust. He comes to Philadelphia, and he's become a very solid player, and he's going to make a lot of money next year. They have a really good infrastructure. They know what they're doing, and that's why I really want the Super Bowl, man. I'm tired of having only one. I think they deserve more. They've been a model of consistency. They've had the third most appearances in the last 20 years. Obviously, the Patriots and the Chiefs had the most, but you know, it just goes to show you how good this organization is. And you know, the only thing that it needs is more Super Bowls. I mean, because we definitely left some on the table, but
yeah,
hopefully not tonight.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. You know, they need that model of consistency, and you know how you said how the players buy in, Mike. Well, to me, that goes down to coaching. That goes down to your head coach. Like, if the players didn't respect, if they didn't respect Nick Sirianni, they wouldn't respect their coordinators. It's just how it goes, and that's when everyone sits there and says, "Well, what does Nick Sirianni do? He's this, he's that." Nick Sirianni is the CEO of the coaches. Plain and simple. This is what he expects from them. He expects the same out of his players. and he gets it. I guarantee you, and I don't even know if it's a parlay or if it's an option. If the Eagles are able to win tonight, he's getting carried off. Watch it. Write that down. He's getting carried off if they win tonight. It hasn't been done in like 35 years. I think like Jimmy Johnson was the last one.
I'm actually on
I could see
DraftKings
that.
right now. I'm on DraftKings right now to see if
I think there's a
just
bet
looking
where
at
you could
props.
do
I
the
don't think there
Gatorade
is one.
color. There's
Yeah.
a bet where you could do the Gatorade color choice. It's like 250 plus 250 for like purple, like 500 for like green or yellow or lime or something like that. It's ridiculous shit. I'm not betting on this game. I don't bet on Eagles games during the season, and I'm not going to change that for this game either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did bet on it. It was the first game I bet on all season. I bet Jalen Hurts. I bet Saquon Barkley, and I bet the Eagles money line anytime touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm debating whether or not I should parlay Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert plus like 670 yards, because Devontae Smith plus 70 yards is 194, and Dallas Goedert plus 70 yards is 195. I think they're going to key in on AJ. I think if you're the Chiefs, you'd imagine McDuffie's going to shadow AJ, and I think Devontae and Goddard can have big games. Goddard's been having a really good postseason.
Here's one thing that I think that people might overlook. Okay, so when the last time the Eagles and the Chiefs played in the regular season, I watched those highlights. A lot of our scoring success was off of receptions by our running back. They were throwing a lot to DeAndre Swift, and he was making big gains. Those short, quick passes up the middle, and he was flying. Saquon Barkley, we all know he had that one drop that cost the Atlanta game, but he is a reliable, pass catcher as a running back. So I think, what's going to be a little bit of a sleeper is we're going to see a lot more running back receptions out of Barkley or Gainwell, for not just for like betting purposes, but for like getting down the field. And I think that's what a lot of people might be sleeping on. They're going to, people are going to take Saquon's rushing yards. They're going to take the touchdowns. Why the touchdown for Saquon's at like minus 190, I think last time I looked. But don't sleep on the running back receptions for this game, because that was successful against the Chiefs the last time. Granted, there's different players and each team is different, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And they love the blitz too. So, if they get overzealous in the blitz game, that's when you take advantage. So that's actually not – that's a great take.
And Spagnuolo loves to add an extra rusher to the blitz. So if Jalen can get a quick pass off to Saquon up the middle, because Saquon doesn't do the blocks, he just goes and the rushers are rushing up there, boom, you have a wide open field in the middle for an easy, quick running back reception.
No, yeah, you're 100% right. And I think Frankie was talking about Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith averages 6 catches for 99 yards against the Chiefs in like their last 3 or 4 meetings, which is insane. And he's such an underrated player who doesn't get the love because of AJ Brown and because of Saquon Barkley. And I love the pick in 2021. I love that. Like think about that. They traded with Dallas to get Devontae Smith, and then when they traded with Washington to get Cooper DeJean. Like, it's like stop making trades with like
all organizations. We can make trades all day long. We traded left and right and still got Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And I thought a lot of people were worried about that for a second when we were making 9 trades and 9 draft day trades. I think it was like the most in like the last 20 years or something like that.
Yeah, Smitty he's so good, and he plays well beyond his size. And people, like you said, people forget about him. Like, the guy has an incredible pedigree, being from Alabama, Heisman Trophy winner. Obviously he was nicked up this year, but when he's going, he's really good. I mean, he could be a number 1 wide receiver for most teams. But I think he's going to have a big game today. I really do. I like it.
They're due for it. The wide receivers are due for big games. We saw, they had decent games against Washington, but the previous 2, it was like 4 or 5 catches apiece for under 70 yards for both AJ and Devontae. I mean, they're using Dallas Goedert a lot, which granted great a decision. I think he was underutilized a lot earlier in the season, but they're due for this, you know. Yes, you have Trent McDuffie, who's going to be a hard corner to beat, but that's against one-on-one with AJ. So, yeah, I would expect Devontae to be able to beat, was it Jaylen Brown or whatever his name is?
I think it's Jalen Watson, I believe.
Jalen Watson. And then I don't even know if they have a nickel corner or whatever, but you have to deal with a slot receiver with either Jahan Dotson, who's a speedster, or Dallas Goedert, who's a reliable pass catcher, and he's physical and can, you know, get many yards after contact. So they're going to have a lot to deal with, and they're not going to be able to decide, you know, accurately who to go after because there's so many. There's the thing. There's so many playmakers, and that's why having a dual threat running back or quarterback like Jalen Hurts is going to help because. Are they going to give it to Saquon? Is Jalen going to keep? We've seen him do quarterback draws a bunch of times. You know, a lot of the times they didn't work, but they seem to be working this season because they're finding the open holes where Jalen's getting better at making audibles last minute when he's reading the defense. So everyone talked about, oh, Jalen can't read a defense. I'm like, well, it's fucking working for him somehow.
Yeah, I mean, he's been phenomenal against the blitz.
The thing I worry about is
it was night day
against man blitz. His numbers haven't been great against zone blitz, but I think Spagnuolo loves to do zone blitz. But if he's not working for it, if it's not working for him, I could see him making those adjustments and going onto a man blitz. But we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a matchup that we all need to watch, that we need to look out, and I said it the other night, is Trey Smith versus Jalen Carter. Like, is Trey Smith, their guard, going to go one-on-one with Jalen Carter? They're both animals. They're both going to be slapping, punching, kicking each other. You know, we're going to find out whoever wins that battle, I think wins the game.
Yeah, they're going to have to steal one-on-ones against them because obviously Joe Tooney's moved to left tackle, and I think the Eagles have the better O-line, but the Chiefs have the best interior offensive line in football. Joe Tooney's the best left guard. Creed Humphrey's the best center. Trey Smith is a top 5, top 3 guard. And by the way, he's going to make a shit ton of money this offseason. He's a free agent. He's already got his rings. He might as well get the bag. I agree. That's going to be a good matchup. And then it's going to be key too, to contain Patrick Mahomes as well. Because like what Michael said, having him scramble kind of did us in the last Super Bowl against them. But I think we have the guys that can do it. I mean, Josh Sweat's really good in terms of in the run, and you have Jordan Davis who's starting to come on, and you have a little bit of everything. You have a guy like Nolan Smith who can kind of crash down, and then you can have guys like Josh Sweat keep contained, and then we have linebackers that can fill. I mean, that was the one thing last year watching the Buccaneers playoff game. Like when a guy would catch a ball 5 yards up the field, there was like nobody in sight. Like the way this team pursues, the way they attack, the way they fill. It's it's night and day. It's impressive. So
yeah, the thing is we gotta stick with a man defense because I think a lot of the time we try zone, there's not a lot of the best communication in those instances. And what we saw a lot of those last 2 touchdowns from Kansas City in the Super Bowl with like Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney being wide open is that it almost looked like zone was happening, but nobody was there. They tend to get a lot of their times their passes are to wide open guys who are just beyond the first down marker and are left wide open, and we can't get there in time. We can't allow that in this game. That happened a lot against Washington in our loss, and that happened against Kansas City frequently. So as long as we can prevent that from happening, then I think we'll be on the safe side. But that boils down to how well is our rush defense going to get to Patrick Mahomes and make him uncomfortable. You can scramble all day you want. Eventually, you're going to have to do something. And if you don't have anything to do, that something is going to be throwing the ball away or taking the sack.
Yeah, we got to take advantage of Jawan Taylor on that right side.
Jawan Taylor's one of the most penalized dudes. So as long as we can get him angry, he's going to fuck up religiously.
Exactly. That's the key right there in terms of getting the pass rush. Or also attack the left guard, Mike Caliendo, who is taking over for Joe Tooney. That would be huge too with Milton Williams potentially.
I think you either put Milton Williams in there or you switch Davis and Carter in those positions because all of them are playing D tackle. They don't have to play D tackle in the same position. Yeah. If you think Jalen Carter is going to win against that that sub guard versus Trey Smith or whatever, then I would put Jalen Carter there because he's going to get the double team. Then you could throw Zach Bond up there and rush up the middle. Then boom, you have another person there to take down from the run at least.
Yeah, I mean, I got a question for you. Are we going to see a backwards hurdle?
God, I hope so.
That would be insane.
What do you think about that not being play of the year?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, the Hail Mary had more consequences because it was like the last play, and then it set off Jaden Daniels to have this remarkable season. But that backwards
hurdle. Who else has hurdled a man backwards?
Exactly, but that's the thing.
After making two defenders miss, it was the best 14-yard game I think anyone has ever seen in their entire fucking lives. I don't care if it was only 14 yards versus a Hail Mary. No one's seen a dude jump over another dude backwards.
No, I'm with you.
He's looking to see where he's going to land, to see if he's going to go.
Yeah, and to do it that quickly and to make that choice that quickly. It's not like he had, he saw a guy for like 3 seconds and then, did the move. It's like he had to do it like that. Like it was insane. It was the most unreal thing I've ever seen in my life.
So my group chat went off. It was like, I was like, everybody stop what you're doing and watch it. My wife's like, what did he do? How did he do that? And the best part about that is just watching the grown men Eagles on the sideline be like, Reed Blankenship like this.
He's over here
Jordan Davis is like what? And I just, and
athleticism, man.
Yeah, the Hail Mary was a good play, but it was also bad defense. The one guy was talking ish, the other guy tipped it to Noah Brown. No one covered Noah Brown. I don't know, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was just the consequences as to why. Obviously, I mean, I think the Barkley play is the best, but I think at the same time, I think the reason why they gave it to is because it was so consequential. They won and they went on this run. But I agree.
I'm not taking anything away from the play that Jaden Daniels made, but it was also, like you said, the one defender was talking to the Washington crowd, which is just still hilarious to me.
And it blew up the Bears season too. Because the Bears were 4-2, and they were trying to go upwards. And then
here's the thing: how many times have we seen a Hail Mary versus how many times we've seen a backwards hurdle?
Yeah,
Hail Marys have been existent forever. How many times have we seen a fucking backwards hurdle before in a game? Not until then, I can probably guarantee.
Yeah, and like I said, just Jordan Davis. When you look at that sideline and you look at Jordan Davis standing next to Reed Blankenship, first off, that's ridiculous, that size difference. But he's just you got to be mad as a defender. You got to be mad that you just got jumped over ass first.
And what was it? Darth Pooh made a comment saying Madden had to add that hurdle mid-year. That wasn't something that was able to be done in Madden. You had to physically add that in because Hail Marys are already in there. You had to add in this move into a fucking video game because it was never done before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse Hudson chimes in and says Saquon got snubbed. We all knew it was going to happen. It's an MVP award. It's a quarterback award. We all knew it was going to happen. But finishing third and not getting a vote in first place, it's atrocious.
I think if he got the record though, and if they were to get a 1 seed, I think he would absolutely get it. I mean, you at that point you just can't deny. I understand it's a quarterback-driven league, and obviously Josh Allen, had a lot less to deal with. They got rid of Stephon Diggs. They had to have a soft reboot because they're paying him so much money. They had to get rid of Mitch Morse. They had to get rid of, I think, who else did they get rid of? Was it Jordan Poyer? Not Jordan Poyer. Was it Tre'Davious White they had to get rid of? They had to get rid of Stephon Diggs.
They got rid of Poyer, I think, too.
Yeah, it was Poyer. So I get that, but, I mean, what Barkley did this year, it's such a joy. When he broke off that run last week, it takes your breath away. It's like you're going to be telling your kids, what was Saquon Barkley in 2024 like? And it's unlike I've been watching the Eagles for quite some time. I know you guys have as well. Have you ever seen a season this spectacular from somebody? And if it culminates in a Super Bowl, like it's the best thing I've ever seen.
And here's the thing: Saquon's only 30 rushing yards away from breaking the all-time post and single-season rushing record, and not only to do that in a Super Bowl, but to possibly win the Super Bowl and on your fucking birthday. Like, come on, it's written in the stars. Like,
Yeah.
why would you do Saquon Barkley that dirty at the very end with how much he has worked over these past 7 years, not only to get to where he is now, but to get to an organization that actually values him, an organization that put guys that can protect him, that built around him, that paid him the fucking money that he absolutely deserved. Like, he single-handedly reset the running back market.
Absolutely.
And it's not even like that, like compared to other positions, it's not even that ton of money. But because the running back class and the draft class running backs were not great. It was one of the weaker ones. You had him, you had Henry, you had Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, all available. The salary cap went up, so it was like that perfect storm of, having the cap flexibility to just go out and spend. And there was a lot of high premium players on the market, so I think that was why. But with Barkley's talent, obviously, he was going to command the most money, and especially with the Eagles, it's like, it's just a win-win.
And that's another thing is he only wanted one more guaranteed year, which was like an extra $10 million, and the Giants wouldn't give it to him. Like, listen, the salary cap is a fugazi number. It's just something that's made up because I don't know how he does it. He manipulates it. It is what it is. But Saquon Barkley's cap hit in 2025 is $3.75 million. You know how outrageous that is for your cap hit? That's insane.
Because Howie does a lot of bonuses. He does a lot of one-time bonuses from that salary, and then the cap hit for the next years afterward are so small because most of that has already been given to the player as like this bonus or this like one-time like huge check offering type of shit.
Yeah, and
is Howie Roseman in a Hall? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No,
I was going to ask this question because I brought up a couple times, and obviously we've been praising Howie ever since 2021. For a while, he was public enemy number one. Drafting Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. At the time,
I think a Whiteside.
The Jalen Hurts thing wasn't great, but what he's been able to do, all the draft picks, all the trades, he's done it all. It really is incredible. Do you think he's a Hall of Fame executive? Like, I don't think that's out of the question. He wins another Super Bowl.
If they win the Super Bowl. Yep.
If they win tonight, he's a Hall of Fame executive.
I agree. I because he does it all. It's like he can draft. That whole argument, he can't draft, that's all gone. He clearly can draft when he doesn't try to get cute. Obviously, he knows when to acquire free agents. He'll pay a premium for Saquon. Then he'll take a flyer on Zach Bond. He'll make a trade at the draft. Whether to move up or down or get a player like AJ or trade for a guy that was underutilized in New Orleans like CJ. So he just knows how to do it all. And obviously how flexible he is with the cap. He can do it all as a general manager. It's not like he can just do one thing and he's weak at this. He can do it all, and he's got the accolades to back it up. I think he should be a Hall of Fame executive for sure.
What do you think goes through the thought process of GMs when they look and they're like, oh, why is Howie Roseman calling? Stop answering the phone.
No, let them answer. Let them answer. This is going to benefit us.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious that he's and the guy they traded for, or the draft pick that they traded in 2022 for AJ Brown. AJ Brown has no more Super Bowl appearances than that guy has career touchdowns.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
And like I said, I was really, really angry with Howie. I was a Carson Wentz guy. I'm like, you got to get Carson Wentz weapons, and you got him a punt returner and a backup quarterback. And I was like, oh, I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Howie said, trust the process.
And then we're playing them tonight.
5 years from now.
And listen, I always sit there and say, the Minnesota Vikings can continue, they can continue to show that video of them laughing because Jalen Rager was taken before Justin Jefferson. How
And it
many
ended up
Super
being, yeah, and it ended up being the best thing that happened to Howie because at that point it's like I'm not getting cute because of the thought process at the time with Jalen Rager is like, oh, he's a speedster, he fits with what Wentz likes to do, which is kind of stretch out the field. And at that point, it was like, okay, we're done getting cute. We're gonna get the Heisman Trophy winner, and we're gonna put a premium on that position.
Yeah,
So
he went from who I think is best for the team to who I think is the best player, and that's what he should have been doing this whole time. But I'm glad he decided to do it now because now we're in the position that this team is in the position that they are now. 2 Super Bowl appearances over 3 years is immaculate considering we had 2 Super Bowl appearances prior to this over the span of 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to free agency is coming up. Obviously, I just want to get a real quick take before we get into our picks for the game. Mekhi Becton and Zach Bond. How do you sign them both?
Well, you definitely got to sign Zach Bond for sure. Yeah. Oops, sorry.
He's back. I don't know where his camera went.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think you sign Zach Bond because here's the thing. It's obvious that the Eagles' lack of value prior to this year in the linebacking position has cost them. It's cost them, games, Super Bowl appearances, whatever you name it. Linebackers are valuable, whether Howie wants to think so now or not. I think he's realized that how valuable linebackers are, and I think that might be leading him. He kind of hinted to it. He kind of hinted to it on Jason Kelsey's late night show about an extension, but he mentioned how he doesn't want to talk about extensions right now because, it's this, oh, what about me? What about me? What about me type of thing right before a big game like the Super Bowl, which I think is super smart. You don't want to psych your guys out before that. But if it comes down to Zach Bond versus Mekhi Becton, I love both. And if we can keep both, that'd be awesome. Then great. But if we can't, I'm saying go with Zach Bond because here's the thing. Jeff Stoutland is one of the best offensive line coaches to do it in this generation. He took Mekhi Becton, who was considered a bust, and made him an all-pro. We have the luxury of not needing to draft a lineman in the first round. We haven't done it successfully since we did Lane Johnson. We drafted Andre Dillard. We saw how that worked out. We drafted a couple other guys that didn't work out. We don't need to draft linemen in the first round. We can take a guy who's a 7th-round pick, 6th-round pick, such as Jason Kelsey or Jordan Mailata, and make them superstars under Jeff Stoutland. So if it comes down to a money thing, I'm thinking you take Zach Bond because you can't teach that kind of talent in a linebacking position the way that Jeff Stoutland can do with offensive linemen. So I'm saying you take Bond because you can get another lineman and make him an all-pro under Jeff Stoutland like he did with Mekhi Becton. In a perfect world, I want both because Mekhi Becton became an absolute stud in the guard position, and he's been reliable despite a couple injury things. But if we're looking at, if I had to pick one, I'm going Bond all day.
Yeah, I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. I'm looking at Spot Track right now. I don't know if you guys go on that. I go on it all the time. It's so good to check up what their market value is like. Mekhi Becton's his market value right now is 10.2 and Bond's is 9.7. And if you have to pick one, you obviously have to go with Bond. I mean, because they still have Tyler Steen, they have Trevor Keegan. They're always going to be able to figure that out. But linebacker, they cannot let they let TJ Edwards walk, they can't let Bond walk, and I think they're going to learn their lesson and pay up there. But it would suck to lose Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, what's funny is my co-host continually brings up letting TJ Edwards walk. Continually.
Because it was a dumb move.
Yeah.
All right, so our Kansas City Chief fan has arrived. Better late than never. There he is. And there's Petty Murphy. He is the host.
What's going on, everybody? It's nice to see you in your Eagle Green.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
How you guys doing, everybody? It's nice to be back on the show. It's nice to see you guys in your Eagle Green. No, I am not in my full Super Bowl gear yet. Basically, this is the pregame show. Before the pregame show, watching the pregame show. But I am. It is here. It is finally here. We've waited 2 weeks, and now
Longest 2 weeks
we just
ever.
want to get it on. Yes, it is the longest 2 weeks ever. Yes, it is. I do agree. No, waiting on this time and everything else too. But hopefully tonight's game gives us something, to be no ready for. No, basically it's like, okay, we waited for this. All right, let's get some excitement in. Hey, Rey Mysterio, nice to see you.
So
Now,
go ahead, Pat. Go ahead, Frank.
I was
Oh
gonna say,
man. All
I was
right.
gonna ask
Yeah.
Petty,
Hold on, Patty.
Um,
Hold on. Go
I was going to ask you, as a Chiefs fan, obviously in Patrick Mahomes' first years, it was more about spreading the ball around with Tyreek Hill and stretching the field. What do you make of this transformation since they traded him, in terms of putting a premium on defense, and kind of how everything kind of shakes out with them? What did you make of that initially, and what do you make of it now?
I didn't get to hear the question because the audio was kind of
Oh.
buffered in. Could you repeat that, please?
I was going to say, obviously, in Patrick Mahomes' first couple years, Tyreek Hill was a big catalyst in their offense. They were a high-powered offense, spread the ball around. What do you make of the transformation this Chiefs team has made and put more of a premium on defense and become a more methodical offense?
I think with losing Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill is a dynamic weapon. He's probably the most dangerous weapon at wide receiver that you've ever seen in the NFL. I think losing him was huge at first. It's because of how it impacted the offense. But I think what Mahomes and Andy Reid were able to do was to simplify the offensive playbook without the dynamic of Tyreek Hill going down the field where you can throw the ball at many times. I think we saw the evolution of that changing when we beat Buffalo with the 13-second game. We saw how dink and dunk passes and simplifying the game, and then making more of an emphasis with defense to basically have a modern West Coast offense is what we have. It's working, and I think losing Tyreek Hill, if you look on a roster spot type of deal, yeah, that was huge. But we've been to 2 Super Bowls since we lost Tyreek Hill. Now we're at our 3rd one. So
Yeah.
I don't think it really changed anything. I just think that Mahomes basically learned how to adapt. It was the same way with Tom Brady. Tom Brady had to basically adapt. They simplified the offense for him and basically simplified it with the defense, and he ended up winning 4 more Super Bowls. 3 with New England, 1 with Tampa. I just think that basically, if you have a quarterback that can adapt with a head coach that can adapt as well, then it makes everything a little bit more better for one involved.
Yeah, I agree.
What's the vibe in Kansas City? What's the vibe?
Do you hear that, Petty? What's the vibe like in KC?
Yeah, I didn't catch that. The vibe here in Kansas City, it's vibrant. It is very vibrant. I think this is more vibrant, even more in the last 3 other Super Bowls that we have been to win. This one feels different because of the historic purposes this could bring to this franchise, to the NFL, and mostly to Kansas City. So the vibe is good. And we're just ready to get it on. We're just ready to get it on. That's what we do here in Kansas City. Ready to get it on.
Have you over the last, obviously you played in the last 3 Super Bowls, it'll be the second time you played the Eagles, and then obviously last year you played the 49ers. Were you more worried about playing the Eagles or the 49ers?
I'm going to have to say, because both San Francisco and Philadelphia, both Eagles and Niners y'all have similarities. Y'all have very, very similarities. So in the last Super Bowls that we've had these rematches in with San Francisco and of course now with Philadelphia, I'm gonna have to say both. Nervous because of both is because you guys play similar offenses, you have similar defenses, and anything can happen. And that's mad respect that I have for the Eagles, and I have respect for the Niners is because of the dynamics that y'all bring to a game, and especially against our team as well. It's like you can't say, well, I was more nervous for the Niners game or the Eagles game when they're both equal. So no, it's equal both on both of these right now. And I'm nervous now against you guys tonight.
That makes sense.
I think
You got anything for him?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we've seen a lot of this in.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you guys this because this is a different vibe. I want to ask you guys this. You guys do know that we are seeing since you guys won your last Super Bowl, the Eagles are number 3 as one of the most winningest teams in the NFL. New England, Kansas City, top 3. And you guys are on the verge of possibly having a chance to win your second. Are you guys nervous about playing us for this time versus the last time we played in Glendale, Arizona?
I think it kind of equates to the same. Like there's even if you're confident in your team, you're always going to have this sense of nervousness no matter who you're playing. I think this time, because of the quote glazing that the NFL seems to have towards the Chiefs, reporters have been talking about the whole referee situation. The amount of times announcers have talked about this 3-peat bullshit for the longest time. They've copyrighted it already. I think Kansas City is a little more cocky this time going into this game, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm any less or more nervous. But here's something that I want to talk about. I think as much as people say this 3-peat is fate, there's a couple of things with Philly that I think are almost more so fate. So here's a little story. Back in 2013, when the Ravens were playing and eventually won their second Super Bowl, you had Ray Lewis, a long-tenured veteran of the team, tore his tricep earlier in the season, came back to play in the Super Bowl, won his second Super Bowl. You know where that Super Bowl was? In New Orleans. Fast forward 12 years. You have Brandon Graham, a long-tenured veteran who tore his tricep, who might be coming back to play in the Super Bowl, where again? In New Orleans, and possibly to win the team's second Super Bowl. You can't make that shit up. That's almost like written in the stars.
I see the connection.
I want to give him a correction. Ray Lewis, the year that the Ravens won the Super Bowl, Ray Lewis played the entire rest of the regular season and in the playoffs with that torn tricep. So he didn't leave the season, didn't come during the Super Bowl. No, he played. But the thing is, the similarities that you said is 100% true.
Ray Lewis tore his tricep earlier.
Everything that
tore it in October.
Everything he said that was true.
Ray Lewis tore his tricep in October, so he has more time to come back. Brandon Graham tore it like mid-November. So less time for that ability to come back. It's not necessarily even saying like, oh yes, they played in the playoffs versus playing not, because you have the month discrepancy in torn tricep injury. But both of those players were expected to not play. They were both expected to be out the remaining of the season, including postseason. And now we're in this type of situation. Plus, you got Saquon Barkley, who is 30 rushing yards away from breaking the all-time postseason regular and postseason rushing record, which was done by Terrell Davis in 1998 in the Super Bowl, in which they won that Super Bowl. And then you have Jalen Hurts breaking the 33-year curse of quarterbacks to lose their debut Super Bowl, not being able to return to that Super Bowl. I'm like, there's so many things going on with Philly right now that are just pointing them in the direction of them winning this Super Bowl. Like, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I'm like, come on now. We have this three-peat, which everyone's been glazing up, versus all these little micro history senses that just are so, you can't make that shit up kind of thing,
No, yeah,
I do agree with that. And then when it comes, and that's 100%. But when it comes to the three-peat, I get it. It's being overhyped and glorified. But think about it. We've seen three-peats in every single sport except the NFL. And then we think about all those great teams we watched growing up that won multiple Super Bowls, not being able to three-peat. They ended up failing in the playoffs or ended up missing the playoffs, or they got to the conference championship game and they lost. So the significance, there's a historic purpose with this. You mentioned Jalen Hurts breaking that curse of going to losing their first Super Bowl and not being able to make it back. Perfect. Saquon Barkley's rushing regular season, postseason record. Perfect. But I want people to really understand this and listen to this perspective here. Patrick Mahomes in dome stadiums is undefeated. This is fact. After a bye week, Patrick Mahomes is 22-4 in his career as a starting quarterback. Andy Reid, we all know the record with Andy Reid when it comes after a bye week. So with this three-piece significance, the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs made it back to the Super Bowl after winning 2, and you think about all those great teams, I'm talking about the 70s Steelers. I'm talking about the 72-73 Dolphins. We're talking about the Steelers again. We're talking about those Raiders teams. We're talking about the Niners teams. We're talking about the Cowboys teams and the Patriots teams. And yes, I'm talking about those Patriots teams. None of those teams, and even Lombardi's Packers. Let's not forget, they won the first 2 Super Bowls. None of those teams ever got a chance to three-peat. And recent history shows, and before this year, teams that went back-to-back do not three-peat. The Chiefs have basically got halfway there. They are halfway there.
And I totally agree. And if
they are to win that three-peat, it's going to be against a tough. It's going to be against a tough Philadelphia Eagles team that has grit.
I just wish,
but they were basically done something that no other team has done.
The thing with this,
you mean the word three-peat never exists?
I mean, it does. The thing is with this Chiefs team, with all the referee controversy, it just feels so forced. 11 of their games have been one-score deciding games, which is something that people shat on the Eagles team in 2023 for so many times. Oh, they can only win by one score. They can only win by one score. Yet when the Chiefs do it, it's this immaculate, oh my God, they're so good type of thing. If many reporters are asking players about this whole referee thing, if news anchors or sports analysts are talking about this whole referee thing, it just feels forced. It doesn't feel authentic. It feels very, very forced upon by a league that sees dollar signs and wants this three-peat to happen. They've already copywrote the phrase three-peat for merchandise. That's how forced this whole thing really feels. Because if you look at Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts' statistical playing from like 2022 to now, they're almost very similar. Yet Jalen Hurts gets so much more fucking hate than Patrick Mahomes. In terms of like statistics, they're right here. In terms of praise, Jalen Hurts is down here while Patrick Mahomes is all the way up here. So please make that make fucking sense.
I'm going to make it make sense to you. We didn't trademark the word three-peat. That was Pat Riley with the Los Angeles Lakers. He actually owns that trademark since 1988. So we didn't make that with that three-peat trademark shit. So throw that out the fucking window. But when it comes to the referees and everything else to it, Chris, you've heard me say this many, many times. I'm tired of hearing about the bullshit. I'm tired of hearing it. It's because One, we know that playing football and being a referee has human error. If you watch sports, preferably basketball, there's kind of some fouls that have been not be called. Human error. When it comes to the NFL, same thing. Of course, everybody wants to bring up the referees and everything else too. These are the same people that were bitching about the Patriots dynasty, saying that they cheated, and they actually did cheat. And these are the same type of people that said that they're eating the cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio. There's no actual proof that this is happening. What I want to break this down to people is this. If the NFL is so rigged and it's so scripted, how come nobody that is talking about it is putting money down on it? That's an easy guarantee win. What it is there's a bunch of people that basically put their child support payments or their fines up on FanDuel, thinking that they're going to pay their fines off, get rich and marry an OnlyFans model and move out to Las Vegas to end up broke, put their money on the Chiefs, and they lost. That's what it's all about. It's nothing else about the NFL being rigged. There's nothing around with Taylor Swift being at NFL games. I'd rather have Taylor Swift than Jessica Simpson. At least my quarterback's not crying on stage like Terrell Owens was in 2008. Sorry, I had to bring that up. But Taylor Swift's from Philadelphia, which Chris told me last year. I was like, oh my. So we have similarities. We have the head coach, of course, the Super Bowl history, Taylor Swift. I just wish people would just basically enjoy the damn game. I talked to Buffalo Bills fans right after the AFC Championship game, and they were canceling their television subscriptions. I actually told one of them, look here, don't cancel your TV subscription. Cancel your season tickets. You'll save more money that way. But the whole NFL being rigged and all this other stuff too, it's the media. The media is forcing this. And the great philosopher, because it is Black History Month, Malcolm X once said, the media controls the minds, which controls the masses. And what's going to control the masses about the Super Bowl and everything else too? They're going to mention the referees. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think I just busted your theory right here in front of the entire world on all streaming platforms, here on Facebook Watch, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. I just busted your theory.
Listen,
there's no such thing as the NFL being rigged. Because if the NFL was rigged, Jerry Jones would be playing in the Super Bowl every damn year. But he hasn't seen once his OJ got away with it.
It feels forced. I didn't even say it was rigged.
Listen,
that was a great argument. I'll give you that.
No, I'll say this: the Chiefs. I think the hype that they get, whether we like it or not, the Taylor Swift stuff, the glazing of Patrick Mahomes, and it is annoying. Some of the sus calls in some of these games. The hype is earned. I mean, they are going for history here, and I think people need to reconcile with that. And I also think that they're a great villain, because of all the things that you outlined and all the things that you've been accused of. I'm a Michigan fan, and last year hearing about all the Connor Stallion stuff and they're cheaters, they're this and that. I rallied around that, and you're almost kind of playing the villain role here. And I as a fan and kind of when I was obviously as a Michigan fan, dealing with all that last year, I almost relished in that. So I imagine that you're relishing that as well. But I do agree though that it.
Yeah.
I think they're a great villain. I mean, they're obviously a great villain here, and in the Eagles, who, a lot's been said about them this year. There's some similarities with the 2017 team. I mean, they're underdogs, not by a lot, but the whole we took down the dynasty then, we can take one down now. So there is kind of those storylines there that I enjoy. So, Chris, you have anything?
No, listen, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Usually I'm the one who does all the talking, so I thoroughly enjoyed being a moderator on this and make sure nothing got out of hand. With that being said, Patty, I'm going to let you. We're going to what you have to say, and then we're going to get our predictions in for the game, and then So again, Patty,
I'm going to say this is because you guys got to experience this last year. I'm going to compare Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to the bloodline. If you know, you know WrestleMania was in Philadelphia last year.
I was there.
And y'all know how Chris, you were there. And you and I talked wrestling too.
And Jalen Hurts is going to finish his story, baby.
The world hated Roman Reigns.
Oh, listen.
Jalen Hurts gets to finish the story, so Patrick Mahomes is Roman Reigns.
Listen,
Patrick Mahomes is Roman Reigns.
And the refs are The Rock, and Jason Kelsey's going to come out and choke him.
Patrick Mahomes is
I love it.
Yes, yes. This is kind of like it feels like a little full circle because you get Jalen Hurts gets to try to finish his story. You got Patrick Mahomes as the tribal chief, Andy Reid as the wise man, Travis Kelsey would be Solo, Isaiah Pacheco would be Jimmy, Kareem Hunt's Jay. You know, but you get that in there, and you guys got to experience that. And I think with Patrick Mahomes is that they hated Patrick Mahomes. People are hating on Patrick Mahomes when he got drafted. You have people like Shannon Sharp, Chris Carter, you know, Chris Broussard. You had people hating on Patrick Mahomes. Rex Ryan was hating on Patrick Mahomes when he got drafted. And for him to do what he has done, 7 years as a starter, never seen anything less than the AFC Championship, 3 Super Bowls before the age of 30. Now you're at your 4th and you have the chance to four-peat. Yeah. He's more hated than Jalen Hurts where people you put it like this. I mean, he's hated in Buffalo, but you can't hate Patrick Mahomes without hating Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't beat Patrick Mahomes. You know, Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. You gotta hate Lamar before you can hate Patrick. It's not Lamar's fault. It's not Patrick's fault that Lamar didn't get to beat him. The thing is that Jalen Hurts is going up against this man twice in 3 years. I want to see a great game. I think we should all deserve to see a great game. But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it real. Dallas Cowboys fans, you're not going to the Super Bowl. All right? I don't want to hear this shit for the rest of the damn day. Do not post this shit before kickoff. Don't post this shit during kickoff. Don't post that shit during halftime. Don't post that shit after the post game. Matter of fact, shut the fuck up and basically wait till the draft. And even at the draft, don't fucking say you're going to the Super Bowl because you're not going nowhere. There, I have to say that. The only way you're going to the Super Bowl is if you have tickets.
Yeah, I think we can all agree.
If you have tickets.
100%.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's get to predictions. Petty. Yeah, I told them your predictions. I want to know if you changed it. But what's your prediction for the game?
I have not changed my prediction. I am going to say Chiefs 38, Eagles 35. We are going to have an epic ending again. We're going to have an epic ending again. And I'm going to give you guys this. Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift are going to get engaged on the 50-yard line. I think Patrick Mahomes will win the Super Bowl MVP. And we're going to have a three-peat. But if they start talking about four-peat, I'm going to say the same thing that I say to Dallas Cowboy fans. Shut the fuck up. Don't say that word. That word is forbidden. But no, I got Kansas City winning in a close one, 38-35. Jalen Hurts balls out. Saquon gets over 100. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get it on.
I'm going to go 34-24 Eagles. I think the Eagles have the best roster in football. I think they have the blueprint to keep Mahomes off the field with long, methodical drives with Barkley and Jalen Hurts picking up 3rd and 4th downs. And I think that this is a much improved defense in 2022. It's a different defense built on the back 7, back 6, as opposed to the front 4. And I think that if the Eagles can just continuously score, not have Jake Elliott kick field goals as much. Now, granted, he's in a dome, but if they have the ability to score touchdowns, they have the ability to have long methodical drives, keep Mahomes off the field. And I think the reason why I have 34-24, I think it's going to be 27-24 late in the game. I think Jalen Carter gets a big sack and then puts Mahomes in a hole, and then he gets a little overzealous because he can do it at times, trying to make a big play. And I think CJGJ or Big Play Slay takes it to the house, sort of like in the New Orleans, Indianapolis Super Bowl where Tracy Porter went to the house against Peyton Manning. So that's how I think it's going to go.
All right, I got a 30-23 score in favor of the Eagles. I see Saquon getting 2 touchdowns, but one of them is going to be through the air. I don't think they're going to be both rushing touchdowns. I think kind of what I talked about with Chris and Frank over here with the success against the Chiefs of Eagles throwing to their running backs versus solely just pitching it to them. I see Saquon getting 1 touchdown at least through the air. But yeah, I think it'll be, one of those 1-score situation things, but I think it's going to be the opposite effect and Philly gets to win 30-23.
I like it. So I'm going with, like I said, I'm kind of like where you're at, Frank. I'm going with 2 scores. I got the Eagles winning 24-20, but, also I think a defensive touchdown is going to be scored at the end of the game by the Eagles, which is going to more or less make it 30-20. And I think, he goes for 2 to try to put the game out of reach and they don't get it. And it's just going to end up 30-20. That's where my mindset's at. It's going to be one for the ages. It's not going to be an easy game for either fan base. So I have a little thing I want to read out. So if anybody else has anything they want to add, go ahead and then I'll read this out. Patty, anything?
Fellas, it's been fun. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. Of course, you guys can follow me on all my social media platforms at the Petty Murphy Project. You find it on there as well. Fellas, I want to say good luck to you guys. We're going to need it. We're definitely going to need it. And hopefully, like I said, I better not see a damn Dallas Cowboys fan saying we're going to the Super Bowl. Otherwise, we're going to have problems. Okay? We're going to have problems. But no, Philadelphia, mad respect. Good luck. And I hope to hear from you guys at the Super Bowl recap show. Winner leaders.
Can't wait to Jay.
No excuses.
Finish the story. That was a great analogy. There's a lot
of
I like that too. All right, Frankie, give out your social handles. You got anything?
Yeah, follow me on X at relatable on my handle there at the bottom. Follow me at Frankie the Bull on Instagram, Facebook, Frankie Mattis. That's where all my stuff will be. And if you have anything to say or want to reach out, those are the places to go.
All right, Mike, go ahead. Do your.
I got you. Follow at 2nd and 15 2NDAND15 on everything X, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. It's all the same. I'm looking forward to a hell of a game. Petty, I respect the hell out of you for being on here with 3 Eagles fans. People say we're trash and scumbags and all that kind of stuff, but I think we all handled ourselves pretty well.
Those are representatives of Ben Simmons. That's not true.
But I'm looking forward to a hell of a game, and best of luck to everybody. Essentially.
Yep.
Yeah. Obviously everyone knows.
Hey, thank you guys very much, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, buddy.
Yep. So here's what I have to say. I just saw this on Twitter. So the tweet is from E-Rock. You're in it. These are the moments. These are the memories you will reflect for a lifetime. Cherish this day with your friends, your family. Today you will always remember. We all remember 2018. Petty, you remember the first time your Chiefs won it in your lifetime. So not just what happened or how it happened, but who it happened with. So with that being said, make sure you tell everyone you love them and go Birds.
Go Birds, baby.
Go Birds.
And I'm
Chiefs Kingdom, stand up. Good luck, everybody.
Good luck.